Forex was so hard until I figured this out. Once I reveal all of my secrets, I'm sure Forex will be a lot easier for you. So let's get straight into it. Secret number one is somebody needs to be stopped out before you enter your trade. So somebody needs to lose before you can win. I'm a supply and demand trader. Everybody knows I learned from Doyle. We trade strictly supply and demand. So what I do before I enter my trade is I mark up little supports that retail traders would try to do a break and retest entry off of and see if they've been stopped out. If they've been stopped out and it still looks like it's going my way, I'm entering that trade because someone has to lose in order for you to win. Everybody can't be winners in this game. Just think about it. Have you ever entered a break and retest on the support and it goes up a little bit and then it comes down and just seems like they're just after your stop loss? It's exactly what I'm talking about. Use supply and demand. It is way stronger than support and resistance, but we'll get in that in a little bit. Secret number two, the market moves in three directions. You need to identify it as soon as you get on the charts. It's either going up, side, or down. Once you figure that out, it's going to be a lot easier to determine the bias. So all you got to do is zoom out of the charts and just look at it. Don't look into the higher highs and higher lows just yet. Just look back and be like, is it going up, side, or down? And then you know which way you want to trade. If it's just consolidating going to the side, I would just recommend you stay off the charts that day. Secret number three, the higher time frames are king. No matter what's happening on the lower time frame, you only trade in the direction of the higher time frame. That trumps everything. If the 1 hour is saying it's going up, but the 5 minutes is saying it's going down, you're gonna listen to the 1 hour. Exact same thing. If the 4 hour says it's going up and the 1 hour says it's going down, you listen to the 4 hour. The higher it goes, the stronger it is. If there's a 4 hour support and a 1 hour support, best believe that 1 hour is gonna be broken and that 4 hour is gonna be respected. Another secret that took me a long time to find this out was supply and demand zones are way better than support and resistance. Now don't take me out of context. Support and resistance is still important, but supply and demand zones are respected way more, and you get a way bigger risk to reward if you trade off a supply zone instead of a support or resistance zone. Now don't take my word for this, just back test. Draw out your supply zones, draw your demand zones, and then look at it compared to your support and resistance. Support and resistance get blown through all the time, but supply and demand zones usually stay strong unless it's like a news event or something. It will usually just break through. Now it does have a lot of liquidity grabs, so you got to be careful with that. But if you're not using supply and demand zones, bro, you're sleeping. You need to really look into it. Check out Doyo. The next secret is you need to wait for candle patterns at a key zone. This is so important, and I didn't learn this until later in my Forex journey, but you can't just enter when you see a wick, a rejection. You need to wait for a candle pattern. There's many of them. There's pin bars, bullish engulfing, the list goes on and on. Once it gets to that support and resistance, or it gets to that supply zone, you want to see a reject, and then you want to see something like a bullish engulfing to give you that confirmation, like enter this trade now. If you're not waiting for that, wait for it to break the candle low. This is how you're going to be more likely to get that sniper entry and not be stopped out before it going your way. You need to wait for a candle pattern confirmation. Never try to predict what's going to happen once price gets to a support or a supply zone. Just let it react, let it reject, and let it form a candle pattern, and just hop on that shit and let it ride down. Next one is risk to reward. Now this is very important. Now I learned from Doyle, he goes for a 1-to-1. I don't do that. I hold my trades as long as possible and I trail them until I can. Just this week I hit a 1-to-10. Now I have to lose 10 times in a row for me to lose all them losses. If you've been trading for a couple years and you're having a profitable week here and then you're losing for 2 weeks and it's just like up and down, increase your risk to reward and I promise you, you're going to be a lot more profitable. You got to ask yourself, would you rather win almost every day, or would you rather win really big home run trades and you might lose a little bit more? On the flip side of that, let's say you might be winning every day, but 1 week you have a bad week and you lose all week. You lose 5 times or 10 times if you're betting twice a week. How long is that going to take you to make back that 10? Me, I don't want to be trading to make back my losses. I'd rather just lose 10 times. One trade brings me right back to break even. Now that's how I like to trade. It's just way more profitable, because can you really bet all your money that you're going to win every single day? I can't do it. I'm not that good yet. It's easier for me to go into the week knowing I only have to win 1 time this week for me to be up a couple $1,000. And it's a lot easier to handle the losses when you're only losing $1,000 when you lose, and when you win, you're making 10,000. Because one thing I always say is the more you lose, the closer you are to a win. And the more you win, the closer you are to a loss. So I'm not tripping about them losses if I know my win's about to just take them all out and put me into profit. And if I hit 2 of those back to back, I'm good for a long ass time. Let's say I hit 2 1-to-10s, which is very unrealistic. Let me just say that right now. You're not really going to hit 2 1-to-10s back to back. But if you do, you would have to lose 20 times. It don't have to be a 1-to-10. What if you just do a 1-to-3 or a 1-to-4? Now that's more realistic. You can hit that back to back. So my advice would be risk less, aim for more. If you're not profitable with that, then you either haven't been doing this long enough or you need to find a better mentor. The last and final secret that I found out that made this Forex trading a lot easier for me. It's not always about winning. It's about not losing. Of course, it's good to win. It's great. I love the feeling of winning. Everybody does. Nobody wants to lose. But if you could change your mindset into I'm not going to lose today instead of I'm going to win today, I promise you it's going to help a lot. If the markets are trash today, your mindset is I'm not going to lose today, so this doesn't look good, I'm not taking it. Now, if your mindset is I need to win today, you're going to be looking at this like, how could I make this work? Oh, this is a little gap right here. I don't know if this is really valid, but I need to win today. Don't take the risk. If it's not perfect, don't take it. 9 times out of 10, if it's not perfect, you're gonna lose. You try to bet like, oh, but if I'm right, I'm gonna make 5 grand. Oh, but if I lose, I'm gonna lose 1,000. You're gonna lose the trade 90% of the time. If you try to add more money onto your trade, you're like, if I do win, I'm gonna make this much money. It's gonna be crazy. No, you're not gonna win. You're always gonna lose. Every time I add more money to a position, I lose, bro. I don't know what it is. It's like a curse or something. If you try to be risky and you try to gamble, you're gonna lose on that trade. Don't matter how many times you won before that, how many times you've seen this setup. It just always seems like when you try to gamble a little bit, you're gonna lose. The house always wins. So go into it with the mindset of not losing. If you're in profit of 1 or 2 and then it starts coming back, you need to get out that trade or put your stop loss somewhere where if you do get stopped out, you still take some profit home. I see a lot of people move their stop loss to break even when they're up $4,000 or $5,000 because they're like, oh, it's a risk-free trade now. No, it's not a risk-free trade. You're risking that $4,000 or $5,000 by putting your stop loss to break even. Like, I'm not willing to take that risk. If I'm up $5,000 and I take profits at 6, I'm not gonna risk 5,000 just to get that extra 1,000 to say, oh, I got 6. I'm gonna trail my stop loss up to 4,000, and then if it comes stops me out, then I take 4,000. I'm not gonna risk the whole 5 just to get taken out at break even. No, you risked 5,000 to make 1,000. That's ridiculous. Now, I plan to go way more in depth in all of these topics later in the future, so make sure you guys subscribe. But that's it for today. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.